weighing in at 341 pounds, averaging 9,000 steps for the month of January. Please welcome Rocky with a recorder.
So you think I should start not with a trainer, but with a physical
Correct.
therapist?
Correct. It would be like me asking you, do you think that I should let a CNA do surgery on me, or should I wait for the surgeon to
I
get
don't know, where
here?
did that CNA study, you know? Met some bad surgeons.
Not
All right, guys, welcome back to Rocky with a Recorder. Thank you for sticking around and waiting for me to put out another episode. If you haven't, then I guess I lost you in my interim. And if you're new, welcome to Rocky with a Recorder, where I am Graham Van Bach, your Rocky with a Recorder. I am on a year-long mission to kind of reestablish my health as a human. Turns out I hit 30. I realized I'm not going to live forever, and the body that I have right now is not going to even last me another little while. So, quest to really start losing some weight, getting back in shape. I thought I had really thought this thing out, was going to tackle it, was going to make a year-long plan of this thing, do an episode every single week, and follow a personal trainer's guide, do all these sort of things. It's all falling apart, guys. January was not an easy one. So I'm back on the horse again. I mean, I did technically, we'll get into it. I fell off. This 2 weeks ago, today is February 1st. So 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, I woke up, I tried to get out of bed, and I could not. I wish I had a recording of the way I sounded for you guys trying to get out of bed. It's just, no. It wasn't even pain so much as just literally physically didn't think I could get myself out of bed. And I don't know that there is a scarier feeling for a young man. Well, maybe a baby scare. I'm not here to judge. There's some scary things out there, but this one for me was one of the scariest. Real eye opener in that my body needs to be taken care of. I'm not doing a good job, so I'm trying my best. And I proceeded to lay on the floor for the rest of the day. All day Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, just laid on the floor with a pillow in the living room, doing nothing. Called into work that day before, didn't even wait until Thursday. I just called in and was like, hey, I'm not making it in tomorrow because I can't move and I don't foresee this going away anytime soon. Got a heating pack, got the ibuprofen, got myself back upright slowly but surely. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to be able to accomplish my goals if I didn't figure out why I hurt my back. Now, if this was the first time that I hurt my back, I probably would have tried to power through and just done whatever I could to make the best of it, but it is not the first time I've hurt my back. So I couldn't. I had to know this is the exact injury that I've done at least 2 other times, and both times nothing really serious. This time I know it was probably a combination of deadlifts and bad form with deadlifts and trying to do too much at once. I honestly didn't think I was doing too much weight. I think I just repetitively irritated a disc is what I'm being told, but we'll get into that. And so I sat around for a week on a heating pad. I'm on a heating pad right now. Heating pads are terrific. That's something I didn't ever think I would. I'm like an old man. I just love the heating pad now. Give it to me. Let me rest my back. So, I also got a cold. In the meantime, of this, the back thing, the detoxing from alcohol really hit me. My blood pressure went sky high, and I passed out one day. So, just in the breadth of all honesty, this podcast has become just a speech journal for me and my fitness quest. So it's not been easy. It was a rough January, at least a rough last 2 weeks of January, where I hurt my back. The detoxing really got me. And I will say thank God for meal prep, because at least I had stuff to eat around the house that wasn't like crazy terrible. And as you've heard, technically in the new year, I am down 20 pounds from 366 pounds to 346 pounds. That is something to be proud of. So though I have struggled with alcoholism and I've struggled with a bad back at nearly 31 years old, I did at least get to fit back into my t-shirts. So that's nice. I'm not as Pooh Bearish, if you will. My belly isn't as taut through the t-shirt just walking around. I never put on pants is the point. I mean, those are the big things this past couple weeks that have really slowed me down. So when faced with a trouble, a hurdle in your mission to become better than you are, what do? You have to seek help, right? You got to find a Yoda. You got to do something. As we've learned from every great Star Wars movie and a couple of the Star Trek movies, but definitely the Star Wars movies. I live by movies. So I needed to reach out. What am I going to do? I'm not going to go to a surgeon, because the surgeon is going to tell you gotta fix it with a knife. And I'm not going to go to a doctor, because the doctor is going to tell you I fix colds. I can fix the cold you got while you were hurt, but I can't help you. So I called a good friend of mine, longtime friend.
My name is Megan Steele. I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I work in an outpatient orthopedics clinic in Los Angeles, California.
So I was hoping to be able to pick Megan's brain about how to go about preparing myself to not get injured again, and telling her about how I had gotten a personal trainer to try and help me.
Who used to be a personal trainer, funnily enough.
Oh, hey, yeah, I forgot about that. That's very true. You know all the things.
I know all the things. I know that I owe a lot of people an apology from when I was a personal trainer.
Oh, no. Did you hurt people like I got hurt?
Probably. The thing is, with personal trainers that you really have to recognize, majority of them either really like working out, and so they know what works for them.
Uh-huh.
And or they've taken a weekend seminar and passed a test, if that, and so they know, 0.1% more than the average human being, and then they just kind of use that and go forth with that as like, I am an incredibly knowledgeable human being, and then make recommendations to people that can sometimes be very, very dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, so I agree with you, and I knew that's kind of what I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But the workout plans that were made for me, not that difficult. They weren't crazy.
Okay. What types of things were you doing?
Well, the one that hurt me was I know specifically which exercise hurt me. It was the fact that I started riding my bike a lot more, and I do not have the core for that, and I don't have the core for that, and to add to it, Romanian deadlifts.
Oh, God.
Right, which is just my lower back.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what hurts. And because Megan lives in LA, I can't just go to her, or else I would, because she would probably give me a friend discount and help me out. Also, I'm very comfortable with her. So I needed to find a physical therapist in New York after talking to her and hearing things like the fact that my core isn't strong enough, and that she's been telling me for years that my butt isn't strong enough.
I have been telling you this for years. I think to the point where I've poked your butt and said, turn this on, turn this on.
I remember. And it was comforting to hear that I'm not alone in this phenomenon, apparently, at all.
I mean, I do that all day long. Very many people have, for one reason or another, learned to turn off their glutes and work around it, so to speak, just kind of, whatever you have to do to get through the day. So you've sort of turned that off, and you've learned a compensation pattern of how to walk, move, sit to stand, get up from a lying down position without any use of your core or your glutes. And then, 10 years later, people go, oh, this happened all of a sudden out of the blue. And I say, not likely. Likely this has been building for years and years. And then there was the straw that broke the camel's back of this girl told you to do a Romanian deadlift, and you said, okay.
Well, yeah, and the problem is now, as soon as I hurt myself, like, it didn't happen immediately, right? Like, it wasn't like I picked it up once and then I was in immediate pain. It was like 1 week I felt a little sore, I rested. The next week I could feel even more sore, and then I woke up the next day and was like, oh yeah, I fucked myself. But saying that is like, I'm not the guy who's like, this happened out of the blue. What happened? I'm totally like, oh yeah, Graham, you haven't used these muscles ever, maybe, and now you're trying to use them and you don't have them. You can't do it.
Right, and that's kind of where physical therapy comes in, is, we call it neuromuscular re-education to pat ourselves on the back and make ourselves sound smarter, but it's like, if you don't know how to fire that muscle, somebody in St. Louis isn't going to be able to teach you how to do that. You need somebody sitting there next to you, maybe not quite poking you in the butt, but something to that effect, to show you what positions exactly you need to be able to get in order to learn how to use those muscles. And then first you start doing it in isolation, where you say, okay, I'm going to lie on my side and make this weird clamshell motion, or whatever it is.
What do you call that exercise?
It's called clamshell for people who can't. It's a very common weakness of the hip in the adductors or external rotators, and so we give them this specific exercise, and then people say to me, I don't often find myself in this position, and I say, you don't say, and then I try to teach them how to use it in a functional pattern. But first, before you can say, okay, use this muscle while you do a squat, or use this muscle while you do a Romanian deadlift, you have to take it down like 6 notches, lie down on your back, and take out a lot of moving parts in order to learn how to fire that muscle.
So you're saying I'm never going to get better?
Not at all. I'm saying you need help. I'm saying...
This is a real problem. Wait, so do healthy people get physical therapists?
Rarely. I rarely see people that are not in some sort of pain. And usually that's part of the problem, is because, you've been in pain, now you're in pain, but now I have to kind of walk back however many years that you've been kind of moving in this compensatory pattern, and try to figure out what was the impetus for all this, like what caused you to start moving this way, and how can we get to the root cause of that, rather than just saying, okay, learn how to fire these, learn how to do this. We also have to say, okay, how did this start, and why did this happen, and what got you into this pattern? Is it because your ankle has been sprained so many times you learned how to walk weird around that ankle?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because you're trying not to move that ankle in a certain way because that hurt you for so long, then you started moving a little bit differently through that hip. And when your hip is off, that's going to affect your low back and your ability to activate your core, and it's going to tighten up your hip flexors, maybe throw your pelvis out of alignment. This is why I had to go to school for a decade.
That's real aggressive. That's a lot of things. It sounds like too many hurdles to go back to the gym. So what you're saying is, I should just start drinking again. Call this body quits.
I'm saying step 1, get your 450 back.
That's lost. You and I both know that.
go to Yelp or somewhere you trust and say, hey, do you know any good physical therapist? What about that guy that you work with that had hips done? He probably has a good
Old
physical
Steve
therapist.
Rooney. I should ask Steve.
Steve Rooney.
But
I bet he knows a good PT.
even though I'm currently sitting with a heating pad on my back, I feel like I'm getting better. Physical therapists aren't like, all right, weirdo. They're not going to just be like...
Oh, because you're getting better? They're going to send you out? Is that what you think?
No, not like send me out. They'll just be like, yeah, whatever. I can take your money and give you simple exercises, but you know what I'm saying? I'm always afraid. Always afraid of the snake salesman that I so often fall for.
Yeah, apparently you weren't that afraid when you talked to this personal trainer.
Oh, if this was the first time I had done this, you know, you've known me long enough to know, oh, Graham will fall for almost anything. Yeah. As we're talking, what I'm realizing more and more is that we don't know that we need you. I'm finding that out calling you now. Like, I knew you were pestering me my whole life, but I thought that was just you being like friendly and like, this is a flaw, you need to fix it. I didn't realize it was literally like, hey, no, really, you're going to hurt yourself.
Right, and that is a huge flaw on the part of physical therapists. We are horrible at marketing. We suck at marketing so bad. And we could really learn a lot from chiropractors because they're exceptional marketers. And part of the problem is that, you know, as physical therapists, we're like, oh, you know, we're, you know, here to help and, you know, trying to do this humble bullshit. But it's like, we know more about movement science and functional mobility than the physicians do. And so if your physician cuts you open and you have surgery and they don't send you to physical therapy, you know, you should sue them for malpractice because it's ridiculous. You can't say to somebody, oh, I'm going to cut you open, and then you should just go back to doing what you normally did and you'll be fine. Like,
right,
no,
the muscles
that's
are
totally
all
untrue.
Jacked now. You're going to at least have atrophy.
At least. And then you start into your compensatory patterns, and then, you know, that inflammation inhibits muscle contractions, and all kinds of other weird movement things happen. And, you know, I don't know, I'm making very strong statements here. I hope nobody listens to this.
Well, lucky for you, no one listens so far.
But yeah, and you know what, I had a young guy come in the other day, huge dude, just like your height, 6'5", 220 pounds, all muscle.
Oh God, that sounds beautiful. I wish I weighed 200.
He had a weird, like a crazy tight IT band on one side, and he was freaking out. He was having knee pain.
But when you say it like that, it sounds kind of hot, you know? You know, like a crazy tight IT band.
And the whole body was just so heavy. Like, there are certain tests that I have to do where I have to lift the leg, and I'm like, just let it go dead. And then I went, ooh, you know, like, oh God, my mistake. I actually hold it up a little bit.
10%. Use 10%.
Yeah, right. You're killing me. But so then I worked on his IT band, and he was done in one visit. And
because you just taught him what he needed to know, not because he was better, but because he was like, okay, I can do all this from here.
Well, yeah, it was a combination. So he knows what he needs to do. He has a strong core and strong glutes. He had a weird ankle twisty thing where that sounds very technical and medical. He didn't quite sprain his ankle, but he kind of scared himself a little bit, and so started walking around that problem rather than solving it. Because, you know, you're a young guy and you're healthy and you go, oh, you know, I've had these aches and pains, but then I get over them and then I move on. And most of the time you do, but sometimes you don't. And those are the times when you need to seek out a professional. If it's lasting longer than a week or two, you know, that's when you're starting to lay down scar tissue, and again with the compensations and everything. So I worked on his IT band. I taught him how to strengthen. And he's like, yeah, I'm familiar with this. I've done it in the past. I'm good to go. And he said to me, so really I should be coming in for checkups like once every 3 months. And I said, yes, that would actually be ideal. You know, you go to your dentist twice a year. Why shouldn't you go to your physical therapist twice a year? And there are a lot of people who are really trying to push for that in physical therapy, like a checkup.
That's not a bad thought process. Could you also do blood work?
It's really not. No, I don't touch needles. That's gross.
It's not a bad idea. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just always thought physical therapy was something you did after an injury to get back to normal.
And that is part of physical therapy. The problem is there's so many different types of physical therapy that's like, a very small percentage of what physical therapy does. There are neurophysical therapists that work with patients after stroke. There are women's health physical therapists that work with patients who have gynecological issues, and men's health physical therapists.
What does that mean? They just teach them how to do Kegels?
Yes, that's all they do.
Obviously, gynecological physical therapists do more than teach people how to do Kegels, but I went on a little bit of a rant about maybe a certain celebrity's certain health category. It was probably not the greatest thing, so I cut it out, and then we started talking about how my back injury is reoccurring, Look, it's not the first time I've hurt my back in this exact manner. So
Right, and that's typical of back pain, and that's what I hear a lot is, I've done this multiple times to myself over the years. It's lasted progressively longer and longer each time I hurt myself, and each time I hurt myself, the pain is higher and higher. And
you
so
took the words right out of
there
my mouth.
Yeah, so not my first rodeo. There again, it's like, what's going to be the tipping point for you? When are you going to have that aha moment of like, oh, I need to get help? It's after 2 days on the floor when you couldn't get up and go to work. Usually that's what it takes.
That is exactly what it took.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. After a long talk with Megan about how I had hurt myself and what I can do differently and what I need to do to get myself back up on that horse, I have signed up for physical therapy. I had my first session on Monday with Ryan. Megan recommended a special type of physical therapist that specializes in fascia tissue of some sort. I hope I'm getting that right. I don't know. Look, the guy manipulated some of my body parts in some ways that were a little too friendly, if you get what I'm saying. But, it's part of the game. I'm getting used to it. He gave me some exercises I'm doing this week to try and strengthen my core a little bit. He did not appreciate my sense of humor as much as I had hoped. If you were wondering if my Cirque du Soleil jokes went over well, they did not. Nope, not at all. So I'm going to go see Ryan again for the next 2 weeks. But because my insurance is shit and it doesn't cover physical therapy, I don't know how much I can actually afford of it. So I'm hoping that because I am young and healthy, like Megan said, I can slowly get myself back into shape with a lot of due diligence at home after I learn some of these exercises and things. Maybe just go in for checkups with old Ryan. Very nice guy, though. I'm very excited to be doing it. And like I said, excited about the weight loss and things. Last but not least, because this episode was all about being injured and not knowing what to do with myself, I will let Megan close us out here with a beautiful quote. Thank you.
I heard a physician speak not too long ago, and she was talking about the gift of pain. Your body gives you the gift of pain, and if you don't listen to that gift, it will immobilize you and say, I can't do this anymore. You're hurting me. I'm done. We're done. We're taking a time out. You're going to be on the floor for a couple days because you didn't listen when I initially said, ouch. It will immobilize you. It will immobilize you.